He was brilliant for the royal family. He did bring a natural common touch, a relatability. I can't see Harry returning to that, really, no. He's always been a very arrogant man, in my view. I've met him a few times over the years. Too pompous for his own good, actually, and there is no place for him now amongst the working royals. I was gobsmacked by nearly everything she told me, and she was so open, so incredibly open.
Hello, I'm Matt Wilkinson, and welcome to our show, Royal Exclusive. With me today is royal commentator Jennie Bond. Jennie, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming to our little show.
I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Oh, talking of looking forward to things, the King this week has said that he's very much looking forward to his birthday parade, Trooping the Colour, as it's more commonly known. Should we be looking forward to it? Is it exciting? Are you looking forward to seeing it on Saturday? What's your thoughts? I
shall be watching it, yes. I won't be there, I don't think, because I live far away in Devon. So I should be watching on telly. And it's not kind of my thing, all this military stuff. But do you know, I defy anyone to go to Trooping the Colour and not be excited by what they see. I always find that I'm almost dancing to the rhythm of those drums and the bands there. And it's a wonderful, wonderful spectacle. London at its best. And I'm very glad, actually, that the King has chosen, I think, my advice, actually, which I've been giving for some time, to get in the carriage. Don't try and ride. You know, he's a man of a certain age. He's a man who is undergoing cancer treatment. And so, thank goodness, he's going to go in a carriage, just like his mum did many years before the age he's at now.
Well, I think the plan was to work out a way so that he can attend. If he was on a horse, that was a little bit too much risk. I talk about enjoying it. When I was a child, I used to watch it on telly or be forced to watch it, and I used to find it really dull. But actually being there is exceptional. I was there a couple of years ago. I think it was the Platinum Jubilee, and I was at Horse Guards Parade, and you heard the noise, you heard the cheers of the band and the marching band and the coming up the mall. You couldn't see it, but you could hear it gradually getting closer and closer. And one of the aides from MOD turned and said, "Oh, we've really missed this because of COVID happened," and stuff like that. And you realise how spectacular and fun it is. But at the end of it, obviously, they will have a balcony scene, the famous balcony scene, and fly past. What do you think we can expect this year? Because there'll be some people missing from the balcony.
Well, yes, I mean, the number of working royals is so reduced now, and for years now it has been basically just the working royals who appear on the balcony. A lot of people I've noticed have been saying that this is a real change, but when you're as old as I am and done this job for as long as I have, which is 35 years, you will remember that it was at the Diamond Jubilee back in 2012 that the Queen decided just to have the core members of the family on the balcony, and it was a clear statement that this is the future of the monarchy. Of course, then we had Harry there. Now they are further reduced with Harry not being there. We assume that the Princess of Wales, Catherine, will not be there, though that has not been ruled out specifically by the palace. Could be an opportunity for her to step forward for 5 minutes, but I am divided about that, because it would seem to me to overshadow the day which is the King's Day. So would she want to do that? I don't know. But I'm sure, well, obviously we'll see William there, presumably the children, and the small number of royals who are now working royals.
That's what it's all about, working royals. It's about showing off the royals are actually, serving duty and actually properly working. But you mentioned there that Prince Harry won't be on the balcony. We don't expect him to be on the balcony. You've seen him on the balcony before. It's such an important family lineup. All the pictures, everybody's happy, they're smiling, their faces up, watching the fly past. Do you in any way miss Harry being on the balcony, or do you think that one day we could see him return with Meghan on the balcony?
I can't see Harry returning to that, really, no. And yes, I do miss him. I mean, Harry was the most popular royal, wasn't he, a few years ago. And having watched him grow up and known him just a little bit, you know, he was a wonderful little boy and a charming, jovial adolescent. At least that's what we saw. And he was brilliant for the royal family. He did bring a natural common touch, a relatability that would have been a great asset had he stayed. But as far as Harry's concerned, though, I mean, I hope, and I don't pray, but if I did pray, I would pray that he has a happy life now and all that he wanted, the freedom he craved, and he did crave that freedom, the wife he loves, the children he adores, the family life and that model of domestic bliss that he didn't have in his own adolescence. And I wish him all the best.
100%. Another royal who was popular at one stage that won't be on the balcony is Prince Andrew. There's no chance that he's ever going to appear on the balcony again. What do you think would happen if Prince Andrew appeared on the Buckingham Palace balcony? There would be uproar, wouldn't there?
I think there would, yes. We in the media would make a huge song and dance about it. I mean, I don't think there'll be jeers or anything from the crowds who were there, but he's not going to come back to any kind of public role, and I think that's entirely correct. He's always been a very arrogant man, in my view. I've met him a few times over the years, and he was too pompous. He said he was too honourable for his own good.
That's what he said in the interview, wasn't it?
Well, I think he was too pompous for his own good, actually, and there is no place for him now amongst the working royals.
You must have, as I think you referenced, was it 38 years, did you say?
35.
35. Sorry, I've added 3 extra years on that. I'll take them away, 35. You must have seen many troopings. Is there any memories that stand out for you over the years? You mentioned the Jubilee, the Diamond Jubilee.
Climbing up a huge ladder, that's what I had to do. A ladder that went miles and miles into the sky. Right. I don't know what, that was our commentary position because I did radio and television. And so I was like in a bird's nest looking down at it all, which was fantastic actually. It was very windy and quite cold. But I just loved the thrill of the occasion and the joy it brought to the crowds. I mean, I think we do the pomp and pageantry exceptionally well in this country. And I think we've seen that recently at the coronation and other great occasions of state. And people just get a thrill out of it. So, yeah, I loved all of them.
Do you ever have any indication of what goes on behind the scenes? Did you ever get, over the years, did you ever hear what might happen before they come out on the balcony? Because I'd imagine it's always the king or the late queen would always come out first. So there's probably a bit of jostling behind to kind of get in position and be, do you think that...
I don't think they jostle. No. I don't think they jostle. I think it's carefully choreographed. I think it's carefully choreographed, obviously. There's all this seniority and protocol. God, over the years, people ask me about protocol. I don't have time for protocol. But obviously within the family, they work out who does what. But personally, I couldn't ever be doing with all that stuff, curtsying or saying Your Majesty or Your Royal Highness. I'm sorry, but I couldn't say it. I'm a journalist. And so I would shake the late Queen's hand or the current King's hand, and I would say, hello, ma'am, hello, sir. But any bobbing or couldn't do that.
Well, we might get on to some of your interactions with members of the royal family a little bit later in the show, which if you'd like that. But I was thinking also on the balcony, we'd probably see, hopefully, the children. Now, they don't often confirm it till the morning. So George, Charlotte and Louis, because it's a bit unpredictable. Well, we know how unpredictable Louis can be. Louis, he's entertaining, but he's not there for our entertainment, is he? He's still just a young boy. But people will be looking forward to the photographers and TV crews will be looking forward to seeing Louis on the balcony. He's good fun, isn't he?
Yeah, I think we, the media, have made him a little bit the star of the show, but he plays up to the cameras. Or maybe he doesn't play to the cameras, maybe he doesn't play to the cameras, whereas, everyone else is very well-behaved and proper. He's just a kid, and he has a naughty side. He reminds me of Harry, actually, when Harry was young, and Harry would quite deliberately stick his tongue out at the photographers, and Diana would say, stop it. And I think Louis has that mischievous side at the age he is. So, yeah, I think we're all a little bit charmed by him.
Absolutely. We hope to see him. We're still waiting to hear. I was talking about the Platinum Jubilee. I got to stand at the Horse Guards Parade, and behind me is where members of the royal family were watching the parade, and William and the King were in front of me on their horses. Mm-hmm. And so we looked up at the windows because the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were also in there, but they were hiding way back. And we saw little Louis poke his head around, and he said, "That's my dad." And he pointed at William and said, "That's my dad." Then he looked down at us and he was asking people, "Why is this random group of men in suits?" And I think it was Savannah and Isla, the Phillips children, like kind of pointed at us and said no, and then dragged him away. So he's learning early. Yeah. In a way that Harry would poke his tongue out at us. So.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? We make them self-conscious. Yeah. I mean, it's lovely at this age where they're not aware of the cameras, but we will make sure that they obey the rules.
Absolutely. Talking of obeying the rules, well, Camilla has said on Saturday I don't know, she was at a book event down in Hampton Court where she admitted that Charles, her husband, is sometimes a little bit hard to control, I think was her phrase. I mean, is that the Charles that you knew over all the years? He's quite hard to keep still, even though he's suffering the cancer?
Yeah, I think, she said he won't do what he's told.
Yeah.
And he is getting better, but he won't do as he's told. And I can imagine that. Well, I think he is impatient to get on with the job he has waited so long for. And he's also a man who is used to getting his own way. He always has, been cosseted in that way. And he has a short fuse, as we know, if he doesn't get his own way or if things go wrong. So I'm sure he's very cross that things have gone rather wrong this early in his reign. But he needs to relax and rest a little more perhaps than he is. And I'm sure that Camilla is running around like a clucking hen saying, "Stop it, Charles, stop it."
You knew Princess Diana quite well, I think. You've spoken about it in the past. I think Princess Diana, during her Panorama interview, she feared that King Charles might not be up to the job and would find the role suffocating. Do you think that has played out? Do you think that Diana was right, or do you think Charles has maybe proved that he's succeeding?
No, I think Diana was wrong on that. She felt that he would be much happier, and she told me that in some of our long conversations. He'd be much happier just sitting in Tuscany, painting. That's what he should be doing. And she was very cross with his then private secretary, Richard Aylard. She felt that he was not managing Charles's diary and his future and the whole strategy properly. And she felt that he would find what she called the top job very restrictive, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't think she was correct. And I think that we're talking about a time when Charles was a very tortured soul. He is no longer tortured. He's happy in his domestic life. And this has given him the freedom, I think, to concentrate on what he wants to do in his job, which is now being king. And I think he relishes it.
I've been really impressed with him. Honestly, over the years, when I see him as Prince of Wales and now as King, I've been really impressed. Like when he was in D-Day last week, I thought he was absolutely fantastic when he was in Portsmouth.
But he's a really nice man.
Yeah?
He really is. I remember the first time I was invited to Highgrove, because I was invited because he apparently felt, according to the private secretary, that his image was skewed in some way in the press. And it wasn't what he felt it wanted to be. He felt it should be. Anyway, I was invited to Highgrove and we sat together in his drawing room or somewhere. I never know what they call all their rooms. And chatted about all sorts of things. In fact, we didn't get around to talking about his image. He actually wanted to talk about genetic engineering and organic gardening and farming and then he said, "Do you want to see what we've done to the house?" And he got out a photograph album of what they'd done to the house at Highgrove, he and Diana, because she had played quite a part in the decoration in the early years. And so I actually sat on the floor by his knees so we could look at the photo album together. And it was just very natural. And he is a fundamentally really decent, good guy who cares deeply about issues such as the environment and food waste and diversity and inclusion. And these mean a lot to him. So I've always said that through all the troubles that I've reported on, what we have here is fundamentally a decent bloke.
Don't go anywhere. There's loads more to come on the rest of the show.
As I looked up, bang, 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 right in front of my eyes, I thought we have just witnessed an attempt to kill the Prince of Wales. And I'm afraid to say, I do think that Meghan had some diva qualities.
You also met Diana many times, I understand, or you'd pop round for tea? Am I making that up? Or that would
No,
happen?
not too. Well, we had drinks.
You had drink? Oh,
We had
not just tea.
iced water.
Oh, iced water.
Well, I had coffee. She had iced water. Well, usually she had iced water. Yeah, she invited me over because people imagine that when you're a royal correspondent, and you'll know this, that actually you are probably popping into the palace every other day, but you are not actually seeing the Queen or the King or anyone. You're seeing...
Don't tell anyone.
seeing the press people. I met Diana several times, but at one particular media reception, which is where you get to chat with them, in Tokyo, we talked a lot for 10 minutes about things that mattered, about the Dimbleby book, which had just come out, about how William and Harry felt about it. And afterwards I thought, do you know, I'm going to write to her and I'm going to say, look, can we just sit down, two of us, over a cup of coffee? So I wrote this letter and I sent it to her. And to my amazement, I was invited to the palace about 3 weeks later. And it was the first of 2 or 3 conversations, long conversations we had, just the two of us, in which I asked her everything I felt like asking her. Though I never knew whether we were having a girly chat, in which case, don't take your notebook, or did she interact with a journalist? So could I sit there with a notebook? I decided against the notebook, but as soon as I got outside, I wrote everything down I could remember. And I asked her everything I could think of, and all the stuff pretty much that she said in Panorama 5 months later. She told me at the time, there were 3 of us in this marriage, it was a bit crowded. She told me she thought Camilla had been loyal and discreet. She told me that she knew now at that stage that the love that Charles had for Camilla was stronger than any marriage he might ever have made. And she was very resigned and relaxed, really, about the situation. This was after the separation, long after the separation. So yes, I had long conversations with her. I liked her very much.
So how did you feel about her opening up like that to you? Because if she did later, and so obviously when you saw it on television, you must have thought, well, I knew this already. Maybe I should have filed it.
Well, Matt, I did. I think, am I the most stupid correspondent in the world? The reason I didn't is because at the end of each conversation, as I was leaving, standing on the landing, she'd say, oh, Jenny, it's been lovely to see you. And you do realise this is just between you and me and these 4 walls. And you'll know, as a journalist, well, if you go against that, you're never going to get a story again.
Yeah, it puts you in difficult circumstances.
So I didn't, but I used those conversations as a broad framework for understanding the woman, and I hope it made my reports more informed.
But when she told you that, you know, there was 3 of us in the marriage, that kind of line, and the love that Charles had for Camilla, you must have, not just as a journalist, but as a human being, you must have reacted in some way inside. Were you shocked? Were you not, maybe not surprised? Or how did you feel about hearing her open up her
This was, I say, it was in 95. So, I mean, the separation had happened in 92. Yeah. So, you know, we were pretty well aware of what the situation was, but had not heard her true feelings about it. Yeah, I was gobsmacked by nearly everything she told me. And she was so open, so incredibly open. And also so incredibly charming. I mean, the last time I was there, I said to her, I said, your legs are amazing, ma'am. What are those tights you wear? And she said, oh, just a minute. And she went to the bedroom and she brought me a pair of tights. And being a very good reporter, as we are, I memorised that they were Aristoc Ultra 5 from Harrods, £3.95, large and blonde. That was the colour. Anyway, I said, oh, thanks. She said, oh, well, have them. So I got my royal tights, and a few days later, one of her staff came up and said, oh, the princess wants to know how are your royal tights doing? I said, they're fine, thank you. And then I laddered them. Oh. A disaster. So I had to write another note to the princess. I said, dear ma'am, it is with the deepest regret I have to inform you, I have in fact laddered my royal tights, but it makes no difference because my legs didn't look like yours anyway. I was immediately summoned to the palace to receive a Christmas present, which was a shoebox, and when I took it home, inside there were 7 pairs of tights and a lovely note from Diana. So.
That's lovely. That's absolutely lovely. Knowing as you talk about, you understood Diana a little bit more from those times, how do you think she might feel about Prince Harry's situation? You know, completely out of the family, married, taken his family across to the United States. Do you think she would have supported him? Do you think she would have liked Meghan? What do you think? How do you think she would have reacted if she was still alive now?
I think she would have supported his decision because, let's face it, she was on the brink of possibly going to America, certainly forging her own life outside the royal family. So I think she would have supported him, and I think she would have liked Meghan, a woman who has her own strong views, an independent woman. And I think whilst supporting Harry and Meghan, I think she would have knocked their heads together, William and Harry, and said, come on, boys, enough of this, you know. You promised me you're going to be best mates forever. And I think we wouldn't be in the pickle we are right now.
Yeah, because she couldn't pick a favourite, could she? She won't be able to pick sides.
You don't pick favourites with your kids, do you?
Exactly.
No. But I think she would have been the bridge between them, which would have made things would never get to this impossible, impassable place where we are now.
How do you think things have changed then dramatically since reporting on the Diana era, which was front page of every newspaper, the bulletins you were doing on the BBC, every couple of nights there were huge stories. How do you think that maybe the royal family kind of handle their private lives or handle their PR or you talk about Charles wanting to make sure that he got, to change his kind of profile. How do you think that the royals changed since then?
Well, you must give me your opinion as well, actually, whether you think they have or not. I think that probably they have learnt the lessons from Diana's death that the late Queen, promised would be learned from her life and her death. I think they are more relatable, more approachable, and perhaps the PR at the palace is a little more savvy than it was. It could be just, it was like getting blood out of a stone sometimes. All very charming and correct, but did they tell you anything? Usually not. I'm literally saying, I'm walking into the studio now. I am on air. The 6 o'clock news is about to start. Give me something. Shall I say it? Shan't I say it? And
welcome to my world, Jenny. Welcome to my world.
What's
when
it
I
like
phone
now?
up
Tell
and
me.
try to find. No, it is quite tricky, but I think that for us now, the royal family are incredibly popular. I think the death of Queen Elizabeth II obviously created, such worldwide news. There's just a vast amount of interest, but there are only a small amount of people that actually have the information or have the knowledge, and it's about having to, being able to trust the people that are providing you that information, because we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to be making stuff up.
Exactly. Our job is getting the facts accurately out as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And it's social media. I mean, anyone can now go on and post something that they've heard, or they say that, a friend of a friend of a friend has said this, and it gets like hundreds of thousands of hits. And you're sitting there with a newspaper in front of you that you are trying to write for, based, putting that together based on what you can prove or what a proper source has actually told you. So it's probably very identical to...
Well, I think social media has made the whole thing much more difficult and much more dangerous. And social media is, after all, so much an echo chamber, isn't it, of your own views, because you follow people and people follow you because you agree with it. And so that gives it you all these spurious leads, a veracity which they do not deserve. And frankly, I think it's evil. And the abuse that I'm sure you get and I get if I talk about Meghan or Catherine from either side, I mean, it's just a torrent of abuse. And I mean, we can handle it. We're professionals, but I think and I hope, I hope very much that Catherine doesn't read what is online, which is probably made
They're
aware of it.
The Prince and Princess of Wales are aware of what's been written about them. But remember, there was a lot of abuse, there was a lot of criticism, rightly so, of journalists and photographers after the death of Princess Diana. That was a period where it was very difficult to work in the media, I assume.
Yes, it was. Yes, I remember being on air at Kensington Palace shortly after Diana's death, and I mentioned the name Camilla for some reason during the 1 o'clock news live, and I was shouted down by the crowds. But it was a different ball game entirely. I mean, I have come to believe, and I do social media, but I've come to believe that the human race is really very unpleasant indeed, and very vindictive and unkind. And it doesn't take a lot to try to be kind. I know that's not what we're meant to be doing as journalists, but it doesn't hurt to try to be pleasant about people when you can.
To be fair.
Yes.
I think that's what we always try to be.
Fair is a better word.
But if we're writing about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, we just try to be fair. If they've done something wrong, we say we believe it's wrong. If they've done something right, we say, but more often than not, they've done something wrong. Don't go anywhere. There's loads more to come on the rest of the show. William
was correct to guide, warn, whatever it was, Harry. Are you sure you're not going a bit fast in this relationship with Meghan?
Now, your career, you weren't just the face of royal news for the BBC for so many years, and obviously presenting, the 6 o'clock news.
Oh, yeah, and the 1 o'clock news.
And the 1 o'clock news.
The Today programme.
But for many viewers, they remember you from I'm a Celebrity. which meant that you had to go to the jungle in Australia and take part in some very entertaining, can I say entertaining?
Yeah,
but
highly
also,
entertaining.
quite disgusting tasks. But you were on I'm a Celebrity in 2004, one of the earlier shows. Can I ask you a few questions about how you think members of the royal family would get on? Because Mike Tyndall went on. Mike Tyndall did go on, didn't he?
He did, yes.
Who do you think would most succeed of the current royals? Who do you think would most succeed if they went to the jungle?
I think that Anne probably would be very good because she just gets on with the job, doesn't she? The Princess Royal. So I think she would, rather like me, if you're buried in a coffin full of rats for 10 minutes, you're buried in a coffin full of rats. Get on with it, you know?
Who do you think would get the most public votes if the whole royal family were there? Who do you think the most?
I think Catherine would. I think she'd do well. She's sporty, she's game, she takes on all sorts of challenges, or she has when she's well, but she's also very popular.
Yeah, she'd be brilliant. She would actually probably win.
Yeah.
Who do you think would get the most votes from the public to do a task?
Oh, to do a task?
Yeah.
Or to be evicted? Well, I think Andrew probably. I think, yes. I think that's probably why I was voted very early on to be buried in a coffin full of rats, because people thought, oh, yeah, she's that, moody old cow, that posh old cow who stands outside Buck House, And so they put me in a coffin full of rats, but actually it turned out okay for me in the end.
Well, you came runners-up. You were a runner-up.
I was a runner-up, and I had a lovely time.
That's good enough. Because obviously there's things like eating kangaroo testicles and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine would any member of the royal family go on I'm a Celebrity and succeed in that kind of task?
Who would eat kangaroo testicles? Who would the public like to eat? Probably Andrew. Who would actually succeed in getting them down? We've had Mike Tyndall. He's proved he could. I think probably Edward would come into his own on something like that. He'd get on with it.
Well, they did It's a Royal Knockout. Do you remember It's a
Yes,
Royal Knockout?
I do, yes. Yes, he'd want to do better than that went down, yeah.
Well, let's get back onto the proper reason you're here, the royal family. The career span that you worked, there was obviously huge news events, like there are now. Every kind of era has its huge news events. Which one in particular kind of jumps out as you as something that you talk to your grandchildren about, or if someone was to ask you down the pub, what is your biggest memory of being there on the front line reporting on the royals?
You're right. There are so many. I think it's the D's really. It's Diana, divorces, disasters, and deaths. All of those were major news stories. The biggest year was undoubtedly Annus Horribilis. 1992. That was staggering. I'm not quite sure how any of us got through. Very briefly, I will remind you of 1992. It began with the general election campaign, during which the royals are meant to stay very low profile. But suddenly I was on the Kinnock campaign bus because I was still doing general reporting. And I was summoned back suddenly because the office said, oh my God, there's a story, they're separated. Oh God, Charles and Diana are separated. No, it was Fergie and Andrew. Well, that was a surprise. So I'm standing outside Buckingham Palace reporting on the separation of Andrew and Fergie. Get over that, and then off we go to India, Taj Mahal. Remember the Taj Mahal? Charles and Diana. Diana sits in front of this monument to love by herself. And as she comes out, we ask her, ma'am, what did you think of it? Oh, it was so healing, so healing. What did that mean? So we asked the palace press secretary, Dickie Arbiter, is the marriage in trouble? Oh, no. Everybody has ups and downs. It's fine. I mean, complete rubbish. And then we trundle along to June. I'm out buying a bed, actually, with my husband and my little girl, when suddenly another phone call. Jen, it's the Sunday Times. They've got an exclusive. Diana's said she threw herself down the stairs. She's cut her wrist. It was the Andrew Morton book. Big drama on that. Get through to August, think, oh, God. Have a bit of a rest. Jen, we need you in. Fergie, she's been found topless, having her toes sucked by a financial advisor. It just went on to November the 20th when the Windsor Castle caught fire, then the row about the Queen paying taxes, who's going to pay for Windsor Castle fire damage, and then Charles and Diana separate. Hallelujah, the end of the year.
Well, I'm out of breath just listening to you. What was it like with I remember vividly the Windsor Castle fire. That must have been quite a dramatic evening for you.
It was a disaster. I ruined my red suede boots. They were lovely, and I didn't know I was going to end up in a muddy field and tramping up and down to Windsor Castle. I was actually, when that happened, I was in Buckingham Palace with having coffee with Charles Anson, the Queen's press secretary, which we did from time to time. Charles is a delightful debonair man, and he always made me feel he was gently rubbing my back with baby oil as he talked to me in his lovely voice, telling me absolutely nothing, Jenny. I liked him a lot, actually. But I was sitting there having a chat with him when my pager went off. And it said, Windsor Castle's on fire. It was the office, the BBC office, telling me. I thought, for God's sakes, here I am at Buckingham Palace with the press secretary, and it takes my office to tell me that the castle's on fire.
This comes back to they don't tell us anything.
I know, I couldn't believe it. So I went flying out of the palace, down to the castle. Yeah, it was very, very dramatic story.
Another dramatic one you must have been on was when Charles was in Australia with the possible attempted assassination.
Yes,
I remember the pictures and the footage. That was dramatic.
Yeah, we were in Australia, and it was Australia Day, and he was at rather a boring concert or something in Tumbalong Park, and we were all watching, but he was going to make a big speech that evening, and we were told the transcripts of the speech were available, so most of us peeled off from this rather boring event to get our transcripts. When I remembered I'd left my bag with the cameraman who was still there. So I went racing back across the park to get my bag, and I got it. And as I looked up, bang, 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 right in front of my eyes, I thought, God, no. And suddenly the protection officer threw himself in front of Charles. A man catapulted himself onto the stage. The microphone fell over. There was chaos. And yes, I thought we had just witnessed an attempt to kill the Prince of Wales. It wasn't. It was a protest by a Cambodian boatman, I think he was, or student. And it was a starter pistol, in fact, a starting pistol. But my God, that was dramatic. That was another 36-hour. We were up for 30. You must have done this. You're up for 36 hours, no sleep.
Well, the royal gig's meant to be quiet. It's meant to be writing picture captions, but it's incredibly dramatic and newsy. Do you know what I mean? Fires happen, assassination attempts happen, and court cases happen. You know, it's
got legs, as we say in the business. It has legs, and those legs have just gone trotting on. I mean, it's still a jaw-dropping. I still broadcast a huge amount and write and commentate a huge amount on the royals, often from home, but sometimes here in London, and it still has the ability to make my jaw drop. Harry stepping back from royal duties. I remember sitting in my lounge and saying, "What?" I mean, it's constantly that. It's a very, very busy busy beat. The royal one.
Prince William's been busy. I don't know if you've seen Prince William, because he's been doing fewer engagements in the last couple of months. Because obviously the Princess of Wales has been unwell, and he's been making sure her care. You know, she's comfortable back at Adelaide Cottage. But I was looking in my diary, and he's done Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then this week, Monday, Tuesday, he's been out on engagements as well. So it was Portsmouth, then it was Normandy, then it was the wedding, then Monday he was the England football, and then on Tuesday he has been in Cardiff. He's not had a run of work like that, and I'm just wondering if we get your thoughts on whether that might indicate that Princess of Wales could be left alone a little bit longer, because it's. We're not asked not to speculate on her care, and she needs to have the privacy to get better in her own time. But it just occurs to me that's quite a good sign, possibly, that William is working.
Yes, is able to leave. I mean, he has been doing the school run as well when he can, but obviously there's been days when he can't do it, and obviously that's got to be a good sign. I mean, I'm delighted that neither you nor I know how she is, because that's exactly how it should be. That's what she's asked for. And I'm so glad that the media have respected that. But what we do know is that, as you say, William is out and about a bit more, that he has said that she is getting better, and that she has said in her note to the Irish Guards, wasn't it, when she couldn't attend the rehearsal for Trooping the Colour, in her own words, she said she hoped to be able to represent them very soon. Those are the concrete facts we had to go on, and they're all positive.
Yeah, no, we always wish her good luck on the show as much as we can, and she just needs to come back whenever she's good and ready, but we kind of miss her.
Well, we do, don't we? I mean, she increasingly, I think, has become the jewel in the crown, which we used to say of Diana as well. And she has grown into that role in such a dignified way and such a regal way, actually, and yet with a common touch. I think it was brilliant that she was given 10 years to peer into that goldfish bowl of royal life and all the restrictions and the glare of publicity it brings. But because their courtship was so long, she was able to judge that she could hack it, and William could see that too. And this is why I think that William was correct to guide, warn, whatever it was, Harry, are you sure you're not going a bit fast in this relationship with Meghan? It affronted Harry to be questioned like that, but I think that William, I think it came from a good place. Because if you look at the marriages that really have survived with commoners, Sophie Wessex is another example. Sophie Rhys-Jones, as she was when I first knew her, and she again had a long courtship with Edward, and they more or less lived together before marriage, and that is one of the most delightfully happy marriages in the royal family.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's really interesting that William did, have a lot of time when he was younger for a start, but he had a lot of time to, and Princess of Wales had a lot of time to kind of learn the role, be accepted, and really understand what she had to do. Whereas Duchess of Sussex had a much shorter time. Maybe it was because they were older, or maybe that Harry was just a man in a rush. He wanted to get married, and he wanted kids, and she would have gone if he hadn't have acted quicker. But there we go. I have some quick fire questions to wrap up, if you don't mind, Jenny. So they're light-hearted and fun.
I have. All right, I have my instructions.
Light-hearted and fun. I'll start from the top, and I'll see how far I go. Who was the best royal you have had dinner or a drink with, or met, and what did they tell you? Anything interesting?
Well, that's got to be. Best is a funny word, but probably the most delightful was Diana. And what did she tell me? Practically everything, to my astonishment.
Lovely. Who do you think is the best dressed royal?
Best dressed, I think probably Catherine is amazing. Do you remember that gold outfit she wore to, was it James Bond premiere or something? Yeah. Absolutely amazing, but very closely matched, I think, by Camilla, looking stunning these days.
Interesting. I think Prince Charles is a snappy dresser.
I
do. I like his suits. I like his jackets. Yeah, I think he looks pretty cool.
Yeah, he likes the pocket handkerchief.
Who do you think is the laziest, and who is the most hard-working?
The laziest probably was Andrew, and the most hardworking, undoubtedly, is who do you think I'm going to say?
I know you're going to say
the Princess Royal.
Yeah, Princess Anne.
Yeah. I mean, she's astonishing, absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, she just she doesn't take us along with her. She just goes and does it. She doesn't do it for exposure.
Nope. She's quite difficult to work with, but she gets it done.
I think I might know the answer to this one as well, but I'll try it. Which royal do you think is the biggest diva?
Well, is Meghan a royal? I don't know. Discuss. Anyway, I think historically, probably Princess Margaret was a real diva. And I'm afraid to say, I do think that Meghan had some diva qualities.
Does diva have to be female? I was thinking maybe Andrew.
I don't know. I always think of diva. It sounds female, doesn't it? Maybe it'd be divum if it was a man.
Okay, all right.
I did Latin A level.
There we go. If you could swap lives with one member of the royal family for a day, who would it be, and what would you do?
Oh my goodness me! I think I'd swap. I would volunteer to swap roles with William to give him a break, so that he could just have a nice rest with his family. And I think I might do that.
Okay, final question. I don't know how to pronounce this word, actually. It may be a north-south divide, but which royal family member do you think would win a game of charades? Charades?
Charades.
Is it charades?
I call it charades. I think Charles would, actually. He was very keen on dramatics, amateur dramatics, and was quite a good actor at Gordonstoun and at university. And he's quite funny. I think he can take off the goons and people like that very well. So I think he gets that from his mum, actually, because she was a good mimic too.
Do they play any parlour games, do you think, at things like Balmoral and stuff
Yes,
like
I think
that?
they do.
do,
Yes,
don't they?
yes, I think they do. They used to be very, very keen on card games. Something demon. They used to play a lot. I'm not sure the younger generation play card games, but I just think charades probably comes out.
Yeah, I can imagine that with Charles and Anne and all the rest. Right, Jenny, thanks very much for coming on. I've learnt a lot and I think we've had a lot of fun, so thanks very much. Thanks so much for watching. If you like the show, then please subscribe for more royal content.